I'm going to call the Special Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, December 18th to order at 6:05 p.m. I apologize for starting late. Looking for the approval of the agenda. All those in favor? Discussion, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have some discomfort in approving the agenda as is. I think we were less than upfront in terms of our public information about this. It wasn't in the TC last week. If you go onto the main page of our website, there's nothing there that says budget meetings. We haven't done the reader boards like we have in some previous years. And, you know, I mean, I think members of the public didn't get information until relatively recently. So for speaking for myself, I'm quite comfortable dealing with the grant and aid request tonight because folks are here and making a decision on that. But I have concerns about proceeding with the rest of the budget without the public having had a chance to at least know that we're having these discussions and to come and participate should they choose.
Okay. Other comments? All right. I will, seeing none, there was a motion to move the agenda as stated. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? I'm sorry, opposed? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, so it fails. All right. Now what?
So I would move that we amend the agenda to include items 1, 2, 3, and 4.1.
All right. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Carries. I'm sorry? I am. Pardon me? Okay. Looking for the adoption of the minutes. All those in favor? 1. Opposed? Carried. Old business. Dwayne. Or actually, sorry, not Dwayne, but public. If anybody would like to, yeah, Mr. McNeil, sorry. Sir.
My name is Dwayne McNeil, 487 Sumar Place. At the last Committee of the Whole meeting, a list of grants were recommended and some were disapproved to go to the Council for approval. The committee agreed that 2 organizations would be permitted to present tonight because they had failed to get proper notice. On December the 11th, I sent an email requesting background information on one of the grants, and I have not had a response. At 9 o'clock last night, there was no agenda posted on the website. I emailed the mayor, and Mayor Hamilton, thank you for responding quickly. And Councillor Martin, you also responded this morning. At 11:18 last night, there was still no agenda on the website. At noon hour today, I saw it was posted. But as a citizen that comes to these meetings, I try to be prepared. I had no opportunity to prepare myself. So I don't think, and I understand there's grants here, there's now 4 grants. I have had no chance to review any information. Hence, I can have no input in this meeting, and I'm sorry that this has happened. I thank Pat for the apology on behalf of the city. But you know what? The citizens need to have time to prepare to deal with Committee of the Whole. And as such, I have no input tonight, so I'm going to go home. Thank you.
I don't think we have any other old business. Do we, Pat? No. Okay. Moving on to new business. 4.1, grants and aid requests. 1, Fort Rod Hill and Fisgard Lighthouse. Do we have anybody from Fisgard? No? Then I'll look to the Director of Finance. Do you have any comments regarding that? I'm sorry. Regarding this one?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Fisgard Lighthouse was contacted several times by city staff and alerted that we would listen to another presentation from them for grant funding, and they appear to not have made it to the meeting.
Thank you. I do have a letter from them. Did everybody get that letter? It was on your table.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's dated November 28th,
Oh, okay, yes, I got it.
and it basically outlines
Yeah.
the costs. Did you want to speak to us right now, or do you want to? Sorry, do you want to?
Thank you, through the chair. I've got a question with respect to Mr. McNeil's concerns that he expressed earlier, and that's with respect to council agreeing that we should hear 2 grant requests at the committee of the whole, and I'm just wondering why we have 4 in front of us right now.
I didn't put on.
I think
I'm
the West
looking
Shore
towards
Parks
staff.
Rec, or the West Shore Arts Council was one that came in after.
Staff were asked by Councillor Day to add the application from the West Shore Art Council, and also with respect to the Canada Day celebration, it was felt that because there has been so much turnover and restructuring at that government office, that it was only fair to allow them to come and ask for the additional funds this evening. And also because the city is somewhat required or obligated to contribute along with the other communities toward this annual celebration. The federal context requested that perhaps council would consider making this just a mandatory grant request each year as part of the core, so that they do not have to put together the large grant application package.
Does that answer your question?
So Councillor Day asked that the West Shore Arts Council grant request be added to the agenda. What about the other one? Because we approved 2, right? To come forward to committee of the whole. So I understand Councillor Day asked for West Shore Arts Council to be added. What about the other one?
I'm looking towards staff. I don't have that answer for you.
I don't know.
Was Mike?
Mr. Chair, I believe the Synergy and the Film Commission were on the original list that we looked at last time, and we deferred those 2 because the representatives didn't have a chance to speak.
Right.
And the Director of Finance spoke to both the Fort Rod Hill Fisgard Lighthouse one
All right,
and the West
okay.
Shore Arts Centre, with which are the other 2. I think that makes up the 4 that we're hearing tonight.
And if I can just speak to, through yourself, Chair, the West Shore Arts Council, there was notification given to them. However, the notification went to a person who's no longer part of the Arts Council, let alone the community. And she obviously didn't share it. And so I know that they did speak to the mayor as well, and were told to submit accordingly. So that's why they were added late, just so you know. So as I spoke last week, or at the previous meeting, about making sure we've got our process and making sure that we ask for a generic mailbox, et cetera, that anybody can get into, so that if they churn, then we've covered it, because we don't want to be going through this again next year.
I agree. Thank you.
Does that answer your questions?
Now it does, yes. Thank you.
All right. Just before we move on to Fort Rod Hill and speak to it, since only 4.1 was approved on the agenda tonight, if staff members are staying, you don't need to, because we're not going to get to it. So you can. So Fort Rod Hill, We have nobody to speak on this, so we will just go to public. Does public have any comment? Seeing none, I will come to the committee. Does committee have comment? Mayor Hamilton?
So along the lines of what our Director of Finance has said, there was a problem with the Fort Rod Hill because they are seasonal in their operations down there. They've had quite a turnover of staffing and that sort of thing. Their budget process is, with the federal government, is an alternative timeline than we are. So it's been a bit of a struggle. I did speak with staff down there myself, and what they would like to do is get a better understanding and relationship. And as Rebecca has indicated, they are looking to creating a situation where it's an ongoing service provided to the community on site. So it keeps things consistent for them, consistent for us. We know where we're going year after year, and it'll make it a much simpler process. So this is one that may well be considered along with the likes of the West Shore Chamber of Commerce, where they provide a fee for service, and we set, and agree to what those services are, and it's a standard an amount of money. They're looking to have that same kind of relationship with all the communities. It used to be that everybody did their own thing for Canada Day, and it somehow evolved into being a Fort Rod Hill location and operated event down there. So they need some assistance, and they're going to work more diligently with the communities to get that.
All right. Any other comments? Councillor Lukens?
It doesn't state what they're receiving from any of the other communities. Does finance know, or does anybody know? It just seems like a lot of money. I don't know, if that's their entire budget. Is it something that Colwood should be funding wholly, or is it the other communities?
39. Oh, last year, I'm not sure. Yes, Mayor Hamilton?
I believe in past we've only donated 1,000 or maybe 1,500, but was it 2 last year? Yeah, 2,000. And they're asking for 4 this year.
All right, any other discussion? If not, I will ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I will be prepared to move that the city include the sum of $1,500 as a core line item in the 2014 city budget.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Logan. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Moving on to Synergy Sustainability Institute. Is there anyone to speak to this? I'd ask you to step forward, state your name and address for a recorder.
Is it on?
Yep.
My name is Jill Doucette, and my address is 1245 Oscar Street.
So would you like to speak at all about your request for us?
Sure. So the request is for the Vancouver Island Green Business Certification Program, and in its name, it's kind of obvious as to what it is, but how it came about is a little bit interesting, and actually started out in the West Shore. We had the West Shore Chamber of Commerce come to us saying that their members are requesting a green business certification program, mostly small, medium-sized businesses that aren't serviced by a lot of programs, and want recognition for their sustainability efforts, but can't afford the larger certifications and other recognition programs out there, such as some of the green building certifications, ISOs. They're all too onerous and too expensive. So we had been coming along the same lines with Synergy Enterprises. Is a consulting company I started in 2008, and in the beginning we were working with small, medium-sized enterprises and had the same request over and over again. But as a private company, we weren't interested in starting a certification program. It needs to be run by a nonprofit to maintain, well, a lot of things, but public perception and credibility and proper process, et cetera. So we tabled it for years, and then when we decided to launch the Synergy Sustainability Institute, which is a nonprofit geared towards catalyzing the green economy on Vancouver Island, our overall goal is to see emissions reduced on Vancouver Island and see Vancouver Island become a mecca of green economic development. This program was a key piece to service the small, medium-sized business market, and incentivize them, give them a common baseline, basically a common denominator of green business practices for retail, restaurant, office space, and other sectors that we'll roll out later on, but also to give them the recognition for those efforts and help them communicate that to their consumers. So there's a range of benefits to do with this program. Our overall vision is to see it all the way up island and creating more of a Vancouver Island brand, but that led by the Capital Regional District to start. So we'll be working with with municipalities in the CRD in year one, which is 2014. We just finished a pilot phase in the last 3 months. Colwood City Hall was a part of that pilot, so that was interesting and did really well. So our plan is to certify 60 businesses within the CRD next year, and we expect a high ratio per population to be based in Colwood, based on our pilot and how many were interested from this area. So that's a bit of background. We will be moving up to other regional districts in the next 5 years as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Go to the public. Any public questions? Seeing none, I'll go to committee. Committee, any questions? Councillor Cullington?
Thank you. I think your logo includes, or your list of logos include City of Victoria and Saanich. Can you tell us how much you get from those municipalities?
Those municipalities were involved in the R&D and pilot phases in 2013.
Okay.
So that was a smaller budget for last year compared to this year. It was about half. And City of Victoria gave $12,000. City of Saanich gave $8,000 last year. Our budget last year was approximately $45,000 for the R&D and pilot phases. This year's 80.
And if the City of Colwood were to decide to contribute, would our logo feature?
Yes, it'll be way bigger. Yes, the logo would be featured, as you see on these materials here, as well as the website and others. We have quite a bit of logo display with this certification program because it shows to the businesses that municipalities are behind it as well. So it's a positive branding for the program to have municipalities.
Councillor Lukens?
I just wondered, I see Van City is a sponsor as well. I'm just wondering if any local businesses are sponsoring as well.
Currently, we don't have local businesses as corporate sponsors. Are you interested in how we plan on involving sort of larger businesses in the program next year?
I'm just trying to understand, I understand your small, medium business, that's who you're targeting because they can't afford. So I'm just wondering from a business perspective who you're looking to engage because it seems, that it's targeted to them. Is the West Shore Chamber also giving you monies?
The West Shore Chamber of Commerce donated $4,000 in cash and $4,000 in kind last year. Yeah, we haven't secured funding for them for next year yet, but they do have staff working quite a bit in kind for us on the program.
Yeah. And what other businesses then are you looking to reach out to?
As far as any businesses under 50 employees in size, we're looking to reach out to them to have them go through the certification program, which costs $250 for that size of business, so it's affordable. And that generates between 25 and 30% of our revenue for next year, those business fees. As for larger companies, we don't plan on servicing any businesses over 100 employees, and I'm not sure what we'll do with the 50 to 100 range yet. We'll be deciding that in our evaluation report, which will come out on January 15th. But as for larger businesses, it isn't built for them over 100 employees in size, unless they have several branches, which would be certified individually. Yeah.
Any other? Councillor Cullington?
If there are no questions, can I make a comment?
You may.
Thank you. This has got programs.
Actually, sorry, just before you can sit down now.
Yeah.
We won't have any more questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just wanted to share with the rest of council, and I'm not sure kind of how much you know or don't know, but there's quite a West Shore connection with this program, not least because the Chamber of Commerce was, as Mr. Sett said, sort of very involved in setting it up, and I believe there are. I'm looking at Jill and she's disappeared. There she is. Bites is involved in the pilot program. Royal Bay Bakery is involved in the pilot program. And then, interestingly enough, the City of Colwood itself applied to be part of the pilot program, which was the first local government that participated in the program. I have to give huge credit to Nora Creamer, who decided to kind of take this on in the way that only Nora can take this on. And there are kind of 3 levels of certification. So, you know, if you're doing some good stuff, you get silver. And if you're doing some more good stuff, you get gold. And if you're doing really, really well, you get green. And, you know, when Nora started, I sort of thought, well, that's great. You know, we'll easily get silver, and it's not an issue. Well, no, that's not good enough for Nora. She kind of worked and pushed. So actually, the City of Colwood received a green certification, which is the kind of highest level this year, which is, I think, quite extraordinary. And you should know Nora has her sights on public works and the fire hall for future. But I think one of the interesting things about it, not just for the City of Colwood, but for other businesses, is, again, it's this kind of nice blend of you know, doing things that save you energy that also then very conveniently also save you money. So I think it's a good investment for the city, as well as for the other businesses involved in it, and it sends a great message. So I really appreciate the work that this group has been doing on this.
All right, thank you. We will go to, is there a motion that anyone would like to move forward?
Move that we recommend to council a grant in the amount of $1,500 to this Energy Sustainability Institute.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Moving on to Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission.
Hello.
Thank you.
Kathleen Gilbert, 275 Palliser Avenue. Thank you, Your Honor, councillors, staff. Thank you again for inviting me to come and speak this year. And thank you for your continued support of the Film Commission. You know, I know most of you know that the film industry brings in $1.2 billion a year into the BC economy. We try very hard at the Film Commission to bring up as big or as much of that pie to the CRD as possible. We've been had a difficult time, as most of you know, since 2008 when we were not included in the distant tax credit. We have been fighting that ever since, and I'm happy to announce that the government has made a promise that they will be including the CRD in the 6%. Hopefully rolled out in the next budget in February. So we expect that with that, our production numbers will dramatically increase and hopefully go back to what they were in 2006, which was about 20 million direct spend into the industry. So we thank you for partnering with us over the last troubling few years as we struggled through that. I'm also here to, most of you, or many of you may have seen in the news that we have been, after about 2 months of very hard work, have landed an amazing series for the CRD. They'll be filming a lot in Oak Bay, but they'll be filming all over the CRD. They've been looking. I don't know if they found any locations here in Colwood yet, but they are still scouting. This is a huge project, probably the biggest that's ever been to the CRD, and we're all very excited. It's going to employ a lot of local people, and it's going to fill a lot of hotel rooms and a lot of restaurants, so we're very excited about that. It's called Grace Point, based on the BBC series Broadchurch, which is the most watched series in the UK at the moment, even far outnumbering those viewers for Downton Abbey, so very, very thrilled about that. This year already, well, I guess we're at the end of the year now, we've managed to bring in 18 visiting productions into the CRD, and we responded to over 70 requests, which is a little bit down from last year, but already the calls are starting to come in because word is getting out that we're going to be getting the 6%. So December, which is normally very, very slow, has been extremely busy for us. So we're thinking that probably early next year it's going to be even more busy. So get ready to see movie stars on our streets in the CRD. Very, very soon. Some of the productions that we were able to bring this year were a couple of really big ones. Godzilla came and filmed just north of Goldstream and brought in actually a fairly decent economic impact, mainly to the 2 hotels out in Langford. Sorry. We need a hotel in Colwood. Spooksville was a television series that shot. Again, unfortunately, they put themselves up in Duncan to get the 6%, but they did shoot about 30% of their production in and around the CRD. We had Dark Waters of Crime return, and we had a lot of reality shows last year, strangely enough. Many of you might have seen them. We had Pizza Wars, we had The 4 Oars, we had American Daredevils out here in Colwood. We had Psych come over, which is from East Ends, House Hunters International, You Gotta Eat Here, Taco... Sorry, it's not Taco Wars, it's Taco something. The Today Show Australia version, and another television movie called Unleashed, which will be released by the Disney Channel probably this year coming up. So as well, a lot of our local producers have been really busy doing, of course, continuing with the really popular food show, Flavors of the West Coast. May Street continues with their children's series, Tigga Talks, which is very, as well, a popular television series. And then we had this little Hetty's Heist, great little local producer, writer, do this great little show that'll be shown at film festivals, mainly in the CRD last year. So we've had a really busy year. We continue to try to be as self-sustaining as possible with our fundraise, as much fundraising as we can. We hold our Oscar viewing gala out at Bear Mountain every year, and that brings in certainly a little bit of money, but we certainly appreciate your help and need your help. We again continued with our outreach to engage our youth this year, holding our event where we have a trade show just for the arts and invite all the youth to come and discover and consider careers in the arts and especially in film production. Very exciting this year when we went down to the Locations LA show. I don't know if any of you follow us on Twitter, but we decided to go with Island North Film Commission and market the whole island to put our funds together because we just couldn't afford to go independently and market the way we wanted to. So we were able to buy the rights for the show bag. So the show bag that said Come Film Vancouver Island was carried around by all of the producers in LA through the trade show, out on the streets at the LA Convention Center, and was very, very popular. We had a lot of people through our booth picking up those bags and some of our other swag items. So it was a very successful year this year, which produced a couple of our shows that we did end up having. I think that's probably all I can tell you right now. I want to thank you again for continuing, and I hope you'll continue to support us again this year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll go to the public. Any questions? Seeing none. Oh, I will go to committee. I have to ask. Sorry.
David Tennant, the Doctor Who from the 10th Doctor Who. Is that what you were going to ask?
No. Committee. Any questions? Great, thank you. May I have a motion?
I would recommend to council the grant in the amount of $500 to the Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission.
All right, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to West Shore Arts Council.
Hi there, I'm Cindy Moyer, 563 Bunker Road in Colwood, and I'm here to speak to the needs of the West Shore Arts Council and our cultural community. You have before you an outline of the scope of work that we completed in 2013, including returning the Student Art Show to Royal Roads. We saved the West Shore Harvest website that was about to shut down. We've worked on the Luxton Fall Fair, the activities with the Highlands. There are a number of different activities that we've been involved in, cultural mapping, et cetera, et cetera. And for the coming year, what we are looking to the City of Colwood for, as the city has been supporting the development of the Theatre and Performing Arts Center project, but for the last number of years, there has not been a contribution to the programming that's needed in our growing community. And that's really what our ask is all about. So certainly the breakdown that we have in our $5,000 request is $1,000 toward the capacity building. We do not have any paid staff. We need to be able to manage our business, and there are regular expenditures that are obviously in tandem. We rent facilities in the district of Metchosin. We have an office there at the Metchosin Arts and Cultural Center at the former elementary school. And we're looking to see Colwood contribute to the Student Art Show, which involves a large number of youth from Belmont, Dunsmuir, and other schools in our region, as well as 2 art shows that would take place to expand that. One that would involve pre-K to grade 6 students that are not currently supported by the Student Art Show, and another that would bring a First Nations art show to our community, which hasn't seen the likes of that, I don't think, ever. And certainly the experience that people enjoy when they're able to be exposed to different cultural examples is important. So that basically outlines what we're looking for, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have for us.
Great, thank you. I'll go to the public. Seeing none, I'll go to committee. Questions? Seeing none, thank you, Cindy. Before we do a motion, I'm going to look to the Director of Finance. Could you please tell us what the total is now on grants? Tonight we've already approved up to $3,500, and I'm wondering with what. Yeah, no, but I just want to make sure. I just want to confirm numbers.
And Fort Road was not grant budget, right? It wasn't the
Well,
money?
it's going into core.
Yeah. So does it then count as grant or?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. 18,700. Correct, right now. We budgeted 25. Okay, looking for a motion, please. Yeah, go ahead, Mayor Hamilton.
We're at 18 now?
We're at 18,700.
We're still under.
Yeah.
I'll move.
thank you.
That.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
You go ahead. You're the boss.
Yeah, I was just doing the calculations, just make sure that we were continuing to respect what we had initially indicated that we were going to work within. And so I was just trying to make sure that we were not overstepping that and creating some confusion later and down the road, because these are all decisions made now, putting forward to council
Correct.
when we are moving into those finalizations of budget. So I will move the request for $5,000 for the West Shore Arts Council.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was reading something else. How much did you?
5.
5,000, thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We are now moving on to 5.1, the next special committee of the whole. And there needs to be a discussion regarding that. For the record, we have to state or decide by resolution if the committee of the whole meeting will or will not proceed for Thursday, December 19th. I have been informed that the Thursday, December 19th committee of the whole agenda was not posted until when? about 5 o'clock this evening. Procedural bylaw, section 15A, allows the mayor to call a meeting of committee of the whole within 24 hours notice for the committee of the whole. Notice is when officially advised the meeting date and time. We could meet after the 24 hours, after the mayor calls it. However, this does not address the issue of regarding no notice to the public for budget meeting. And obviously, this could be an issue. So, looking, comment, Mayor, or excuse me, Councillor Cullington?
Yeah, don't mayor me.
Acting Mayor Cullington?
No,
Can I do
no,
that?
I'm
No?
not acting because
No.
Madam Mayor is here. I guess
You
it was
act like
a question of clarification. So there's, in a sense, kind of two questions on the table. One is whether or not to proceed with the committee of the whole meeting tomorrow night as we have it in front of us. But we have also deferred conversation on items 4.2 through 4.12. So there's also the matter of would we be addressing those first and then, in other words, is there a particular sequence that this has to happen, and what then does that do to the timing?
Have to direct that to our Director of Finance. Oh, sorry, we need you on the mic, just because we're...
Didn't hear that.
We will need to start where we are today and flow through to the very end because finance needs to be last.
Okay.
So,
So we need to do Wednesday's agenda before we do Thursdays.
Yeah.
You can bring the mic down. Just pull the mic and come sit back down.
who was saying I got to be Oprah? Walker.
Okay. So saying that, I'm looking back towards Pat. Since today's agenda hasn't been posted at all, saying that it will appear tomorrow, when would be the earliest that we could do today's agenda?
Well, even if you were to do today's agenda tomorrow, you still have the issue of the public complaint, which is no
Right.
opportunity.
Right.
for
So
the public.
so the question is, when should we? What are you suggesting date-wise? That public
Well, you
is
don't-
being
you-
notified early enough.
You have Thursday and Friday, so you really only have after Christmas now. The only thing I would like to suggest, if it works for our finance department, as well as members of council who could look at their calendars now, we return to work January 2nd and 3rd, that's a Thursday, Friday. But we are fully back January the 6th on. A number of committees that would normally meet the Monday, Tuesday night, or even Wednesday night that week don't meet because there's nobody here to prepare for those meetings. So that week is open to us. So if council members were able to commit to something with finance, that could be a goal for finance, but it does delay everything, of course, by a couple of weeks. You could also talk about whether you want to do this, if it works for finance, on January 2nd, the Thursday when we return. I'm just not quite sure how it works. You could also consider
Well,
date time.
the issue would be, I think, if we did January 2nd, would be that there's a lot of staff that would need to, that we dismissed this evening, that would need to attend then.
Tuesday, January 7th, Wednesday, January the 8th.
I would suggest we look at Monday and Tuesday, only because I have on mine here, unless we're going a little bit later, the Economic Development Strategy Group. So you and I will be tied up as of 5:30. So as long as we're not starting earlier than, say, 7 o'clock on the Wednesday, we could swing that, or else do Monday, Tuesday with a Wednesday overflow if necessary.
Monday the 6th, we have a council in camera.
I have not heard the,
Do we have, well, maybe that's a good question. Do we
yeah,
have
I have not heard the outcome of the request that was sent around to all of council in regards to their availability for an in-camera on Monday the 6th. coming from the engineering department.
Yeah, I haven't seen full slate of responses.
So there was 2 of us that had responded. As
Well,
far
I
as I'm aware.
responded, but I didn't copy everybody because
Well,
Councillor
and
Kellington had
exactly.
suggested that we don't copy everybody on everything.
Yeah, so I just hadn't heard back a confirmation on that, but I mean, we can,
I think this is a good time to ask the question.
so, you know, I mean, it depends on how early we want to start. We could do a early in-camera session and then move into the regular
Why don't we
committee of the
why don't
whole.
we start at 5 on the in-camera and then start, we'll do dinner at
Do-
5 and then start budget at 6.
I don't see any harm in postponing the in-camera if you want to use that for the budget. Because
It's not really a rush scenario or whatever, it's information gathering. Update,
it's a subject that the more I think about it, the more I think we need
okay,
time. We don't want to be watching the clock.
okay, fair enough.
Work on it later.
Okay, so that opens the door, folks, then
So, yeah,
the
that would be fine.
6th and 7th with the, I mean, does it hurt, Pat, if we were to say, you know, 6 and 7 and hold? I mean, we could always cancel the Wednesday if it wasn't required, right? But if we post it,
Not a bad idea.
Well, you should probably consult with the Director of Finance, because Committee of the Whole budget belongs with the Finance Director. But I do think it's a good idea if you want to set your 2 nights, and the 3rd night can be just tentative with a shell agenda that we could fill in as we need to, sooner
Yep.
than later. But as long as you've called the meeting, the fact that your agenda doesn't say everything you need to talk about is okay. You've called it, you've given proper notice, and the public is aware.
so around the table, folks, are we okay for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Well, we need to, again, look at the Director of Finance,
What time?
6. But does that work for you, Rebecca? Okay. From a scheduling standpoint, I mean, like, not like, right.
I know that we have members of council who are taking vacation time breaks in the next while, so it's going to compromise us moving beyond that week for full table discussion, so.
All right, looking, the next meeting will be on January 6th at 6 PM. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute, we'll just do 6, 7, and 8, so.
Well,
we gotta-
all I need to do is, for 5.1, is just list the next time we're meeting.
Yeah, okay, but don't we have to have a resolution, though, saying? Or what, how do you,
You don't have to have a resolution saying when your next meetings are, but it would be good to include in these minutes that we're
Yes.
going to meet on
We're gonna-
January 6th and 7th, and tentatively on the 8th.
yeah, so if we can just expand that, please, Councillor Martin, to include 6, 7, and 8.
So done. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
It's Cody's motion.
So moved.
All those in favor? Carried.